Let's go over Solo, a Star Wars story when it comes to President of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, and more. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, as you all know, the Han Solo movie is just around the corner from its release date on May 25th. In fact, just a couple of days ago was the world premiere of the movie itself, and since then, we have learned a whole lot more about the film from exclusive interviews here and there through many of the actors and actresses and people who were a major part of the movie, such as director Ron Howard, etc. Now, looking at one of the characters, Enfys Nest, you guys may or may not have heard about her, and yes, it is a female character. Now, this character is actually the enemy of Beckett. They actually do have a rivalry in the movie. Now, one thing that Kathleen Kennedy actually demanded to be in Solo, a Star Wars story, and we may be going into minor spoilers here, so if you guys would like to remain completely unspoiled, do X out of this video right now. But one of the things that Kathleen Kennedy demanded for Solo, a Star Wars story, specifically when it comes to the character of Enfys Nest, she gave out the idea to the Kasdans who wrote the film that she should in fact be a 16-year-old girl. And that is indeed the case in Solo, a Star Wars story, is that the character of Enfys Nest is a 16-year-old girl. Now, how do you guys feel about a villain or an anti-hero, whatever she really is? She's said to be a villain slash anti-hero type of character. How do you feel about a character being that young of age in a Star Wars movie like this that is very gritty and very violent, etc.? So the fact that Kathleen Kennedy gave out that idea to the Kasdans and essentially had them write that into the story, the fact that she's a 16-year-old girl, how do you really feel about that? Now, I myself will say I'm not quite sure about this. I feel like Enfys Nest should really at the very least be in her early 20s or maybe even into her mid-20s, because we do know that the character is indeed a young female, but I never thought it would be 16 years old. To me, that seems pretty young for a character such as Enfys Nest. Now, aside from all of that, the other thing that you guys may or may not have heard about, the Wall Street Journal was going over many different things about Solo, a Star Wars story, when she fired the original directors of the Han Solo film and how she wanted to shift the entire tone over. And aside from that whole entire thing, we do know that some of the cameos that were supposed to make appearances in this movie were lost. And when Ron Howard took over, he actually decided to implement new cameos in the movie. So one of the other things that I'm really wondering about is exactly what other cameos could we have seen if the original directors stayed on board. The other thing that Kathleen Kennedy wanted to implement in this movie as well is to show a lighter side of the Empire. Now, in case you guys have no idea, Solo, a Star Wars story, though yes, it is very gritty and violent at times, the whole entire perception of the Empire is different in comparison to how we see them in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and all of the other Star Wars films, such as the original trilogy. Now, the fact that we are going to see a lighter side of the Empire, more specifically the daily lives of the Imperial Army and exactly what they go through. And I think that one great example of this, or at least one hint about that decision, is what we saw in that Super Bowl teaser, where we do see that recruiter where he's signing up Han Solo into the Imperial Army. As you all know, Han Solo wants to become a pilot. He eventually gets kicked out of the flight academy. So we do get to see something around the lines of that. Now, once again, guys, how do you feel about Kathleen Kennedy making the character of Enfys Nest a 16-year-old woman? How do you feel about that? And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.